Hey guys, Sword here, back in with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the DC Multiverse Kingdom Come Armored Batman, brought to us by the fine folks over at McFarlane Toys, and I'm going to try and keep this review relatively short and sweet. I know some of my DC Multiverse reviews this past week have ran a little long, but I have a lot to say, can't help it. That said, this one I don't have very much to say about. I know Kingdom Come is a very much beloved story amongst DC Comics fans. I totally get it. Alex Ross, if I'm not mistaken, was the artist for the majority, if not all of, the Kingdom Come run. And I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen a Superman from this era yet. But if I'm being honest, I'd really like a Hawkman because he looked like a anthropomorphic Egyptian, well, for lack of a better term, Hawkman. Or even a Deadman would be pretty cool. Because, you know, Deadman was a skeleton from this era, and they could retool that into Black Lantern Deadman. They just have to retool the collar. Of course, knowing McFarlane Toys, they'd take some creative liberties with that one, because the Deadman from Kingdom Come, when he is a skeleton, his costume's all shredded. That's kind of hard to do in action figure form without making it a statue. I have an old DC Direct of that somewhere, but either way, not very much connected to the story myself, kind of like Hush. I know a lot of people like Hush, but just not my thing. I'm more of a Nightfall, Death of Superman, you know, whatever Parallax is from, that era stuff. That's what tickles my fancy and is my meat and taters when it comes to DC. I love 90s DC, not so much 2000s and modern DC, but, you know, there's some stuff to like, right? That said, speaking of meat and taters, why don't we shut our yappers and cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review. Taking a look-see at the only quote-unquote accessory this guy comes with, his collectible trading card. Now, I'm going to try my best to get my reader to cooperate with me. It's been effing up somewhat awful lately, but hopefully I can get it right now.
Armored Batman, Kingdom Come, data file, real name, Bruce Wayne. On Earth 22, many of the superheroes we know and that have sequestered themselves to their own areas of isolation, pinning the world into a chance power struggle amongst metahumans. Bruce Wayne, however, continues to operate in his Batcave, creating a militia of rockets to monitor and maintain order in Gotham City. DH, Multiverse.
And there you go. So, Earth 22. That's quite a ways from Earth 1, right? I didn't think it was Earth 22, but it is. I'm guessing Kingdom Come, kind of a post-apocalyptic sort of deal, but a little bit, you know, less, we'll say, hellish than some. And there's a power struggle amongst everyone with superpowers, but since Bruce Wayne doesn't have any, he's got to make even more high-tech gadgets and whatnot to kind of survive amongst the madness. That's the idea I'm getting. I believe, was it Magog? Is he the one, like the main villain of Kingdom Come? He's like that dude with the ram horns and stuff. I have an old Mattel figure of him, but I think that's the only figure they made from that storyline, if I'm not mistaken. So, taking a closer look at Armored Batman here, and yeah, he's going to take up a little bit of space. Comes with a hockey puck display stand we're used to seeing. All McFarlane Toys releases. And, funny enough, now, I'm sure the audience is now deaf. You can get him to stand. Unless you're a moron like me and don't pose the figure right. But you can get him to stand pretty easily. I just advise posing the feet right before you attempt it, or else he's gonna fall down and almost knock over your relatively unstable review set. That said, I really like this figure. I think he's pretty cool. I do think that some fist hands would have been nice, but given the fact he's got these gauntlets here, I don't know how well that would have been easy to swap in and out. But other than that, you're not going to get a lot of articulation out of this guy. He's mostly a presentation piece, which I think McFarlane Toys is better at, to be honest with you, as opposed to adding a buttload of articulation. So his head, surprisingly enough, I can fold these back a little bit, can look up and down a little bit. Hopefully you can see all this. He's got some tilt, some as much as that collar will allow, as well as some rotation. It is pretty tight, but it does work. It's just a big double ball peg in there. Not the prettiest thing, but I don't imagine most people are going to be posing this guy like that, so that's fine. The wings are obviously on hinges, and are pretty decent quality wings. They're not too fragile. They are like a nice kind of shiny, I don't know if that's ABS or POM plastic, but they're very nice, kind of shiny plastic. I will say, once you clip them on once, don't take them off, or you could crack those clips, but the clips hold up very well. They're not floppy loose. They're not the tightest things ever, but you really don't want them to be. The shoulders can go out pretty far, like a full right angle of the body. They can go back down. They can rotate forward and back. He does have a little play in that ball socket there. He's got a single elbow with rotation. And you can get like past 90 with that. And he's got the little handles on his belt that you can slip the hand into if you pose it just right. And if you pose it just right, it'll slip right in like that. It's pretty easy to do. That's what she said. He's got the ball hinges in the wrists, but they are a little tricky to get to. It's because there's the big giant plate on the outside. He does have a full-blown diaphragm joint, and you can actually, ironically, the Batman with the big friggin' honking wing pack can crunch forward like quite a bit. Like, that's impressive for a Batman with this much stuff going on. Is it the tightest thing? No, but he's got so much upper body weight, I'm surprised it's not looser. I think he's got something in the waist itself. I think I did get it to move there. Yeah, it's right under the belt. But, again, I'm going to try and keep him as, manila as possible so I can stand him up. Moving that arm out of the way. His legs can kick forward. Allegedly. They are very tight. Let me see if I can get it to work. He's got nice, tight, ratcheted kind of hips like Connell Kent. You can hear that kind of popping into place. What's the other one? Yeah, they're both pretty tight on mine. He does have a respectable amount of thigh cut, surprisingly. On both sides? Yeah. A respectable amount of thigh cut. His legs can kick out about that far. Maybe with a little bit of finagling you can kick it out one more notch, but I'm not going to push it. Uh-oh. Can't get it back down. There we go. I don't want to pop it off because that will make it not tight, and that sucks. I'm not a big fan of McFarlane hips, but this guy's are pretty decent. So I don't want to make them loose. His top knee joint is a little easier to move than the bottom one. You can get about 90 degrees out of that. And if we're able to get the bottom one to move, he's got pretty decent knee bend there. There we go. Again, a little tricky. No cliffs to Dover. It's kind of flat. That's one thing I noticed this past year from McFarlane. They kind of moved away from the cliffs of Dover, thank God, because it looked atrocious. But nice tight joints on this guy. He's got the ball hinge ankles. Even those are tight. He's got the swivel. He's got the rocker. And then he's got the toe joint, which is tight on both sides respectively. So a decent amount of articulation given the character design. I know some people wished he had more, but you wouldn't be very mobile with a big wing pack yourself. So I think what we got is more than enough. Maybe some double jointed elbows and a bicep swivel isn't too much to ask. I can see that argument, but the way they cut the joints and the way they move and bend, he can grip onto those handlebars on his belt very easily. And I appreciate that. It's not a hassle to get him situated. And sometimes it can be a hassle to get certain figures with big wing thingies situated. So, while I do like this figure, it does have its shortcomings, but they don't bother me to the point where I can't enjoy it. I have this guy hanging on the wall most of the time, and he looks pretty sick up there. So, I'm happy with this figure. I think he still holds up as one of the better Batman variants we've gotten from old Toddy Mac, and is one of the better DC Multiverse figures to come out of the calendar year 2023, for those of you watching this in the future. So, before I wrap this up here, well, I kind of just did, let's bring in our two regulars, because there's nothing to really compare this guy to. He's a bit of a one-off. So here's Brother Mandibulus. Again, I'm not entirely sure what they fight in Kingdom Come, what that Magog guy is capable of, but there he is. And here's the 11 Spawn. The infamous 11 Spawn. Who is not taller than this Batman. Even with his legs spread a little bit, he's a little bigger. A little bit. Not a ton, a little bit. So, with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and despite the fact that a lot of people would have really liked this figure to have more articulation, more accessories, so on and so forth, the one thing it does have is presence. And while I myself would have liked to have seen some fist hands and maybe some double jointed elbows, not quite sure what else he really needs because he does have this big wing pack here, he does still have that and looks pretty kick-ass on my wall. Not gonna lie. I have this guy hanging up with some twist ties and a thumbtack, and he looks pretty freaking cool. Just kind of hanging out, you know? Pun fully intended. So, while I do see the arguments, and they are valid, I think at some point, the fine folks over at McFarlane Toys will give us a regular, standard-looking Batman from the Kingdom Come storyline as a part of their DC Multiverse line. I mean, it is a very popular comic book run done up by Alex Ross. I can't see them only making this. That said, screw that. I want Skeleton Deadman and Anthropomorphic Hawkman. Like, that's what would appeal to me. I guess the Superman, just because it's popular, but again, y'all know what I like at this point, and I like this, so there you go. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.